In this video, I show you how to sew a curved washable mask. You can find all the materials and patterns you need in my all-in-one sewing kits found in the link below. Or if you want to use your own materials, no problem. The steps are generally the same. Alright, let's get started. First, you'll want to cut out the fabric. I'm using fabric I have on hand, layered on top of each other so I can make as many masks at one time. Be sure to clip your notches and then take out the pins. If you're doing a more fashionable mask that needs an overlay fabric like this lace here, be sure to cut that out, as well as the notches too. I like to have multiple layers in my masks for added filtration, so I need to base stitch my heavier bridal satin interlining. Putting my flimsier fabric underneath, I use my longest stitch length and sew all around the outer perimeter. Remember, don't backstitch. Repeat this process if you need to baste an overlay fabric like a lace on top of a base fabric. It's important to keep the threads loose as there may be small ripples that occur after sewing. The steam from the iron will be able to get these ripples out. If you're working with materials that fray easily like denim or jacquard, be sure to use a very small stitch length to keep things nice and tight. Start sewing at the front curve. For this mask, I want the mat side to be the outside, so I turn my pieces around, sewing mat side to mat side. Repeat this process for all mask layers. Then take your pieces to the iron and press the seam open. Once you have the outer layer and inner layer sewn at the curve, you need to sew them together along the top curve, right side to right side. To get a nice clean curve at the top of the mask, I suggest doing an edge stitch like this. Use your fingers to pull the seam apart and make sure the seam allowance is pushed back towards the lining side. Then, do a stitch along the edge of the seam to keep the seam allowance down. Try and get as close to the seam as possible. This isn't a top stitch. I use the edge of my foot as a guide. When it's all done, the curved shape is nice and clean and you didn't need to use an iron. You may notice some of your larger base stitches are appearing. If this bothers you, you can clip and pull them out like this. Nice smooth curves and seam. To join the bottom seams together, turn the mask back over so it's right side to right side and sew along the bottom seam. I use a pin to help me line up my front curved seams. Press the bottom seam open. To keep the outer layers and lining layers together, I like to do a simple stitch in the ditch, meaning I pull the seam apart and sew right in the middle of the outer layer seam. The outer layer is the most important, so as long as the inside lining is close enough, it's good. Serge the ends or use a zigzag stitch, or have another turn back. I pre-pressed my turn back. Be sure to make your tunnel around 1/2 inch to 5/8 inch wide. Clean up all your loose threads and you're ready to insert the drawstring. If you have a loop turner, just insert the empty turner into the tunnel from top to bottom. Grab hold of the ribbon and pull up. Do the same to the other side. And knot the ends to avoid them from being pulled back through the tunnel. If you don't have a loop turner, a safety pin can do the trick. Stick the pin through the ribbon to anchor it, and then feed the safety pin through the tunnel, this time going from bottom to top. And just like that, you've made yourself some fashionable and reusable hygiene masks. I hope you like this video. Please leave a comment or subscribe for more. Until next time, happy sewing!